What if the final ride of the Fast and Furious saga is closer than we think? After years of rumors and delays, the next chapter of the legendary franchise has officially received the green light. And this time, Vin Diesel himself confirmed the biggest detail fans have been waiting for: the release date. According to Diesel, the final movie in the saga is scheduled to hit theaters on March 17th, 2028. Yes, the end of the road is officially in sight. But that announcement opened the door to even more questions. Will the story truly end with this film? Is Cristiano Ronaldo actually joining the cast? And what about the emotional return of Brian O'Connor? Let's break down everything we know so far. For a long time, the next installment was expected to be Fast X Part 2. The 10th movie ended on a massive cliffhanger, leaving Dominic Toretto and his family in a desperate situation. The plan was simple: tell the finale in two connected movies released about a year apart. But things didn't go exactly as planned. Production delays, budget concerns, and scheduling conflicts stretched the timeline much longer than expected. Fans began referring to the upcoming movie as Fast and Furious 11, even though technically it's just the continuation of Fast 10. Now, however, the movie has received an official subtitle: Forever. And honestly, it feels like the perfect title. After more than 2 decades of high-speed action, insane stunts, and emotional moments about family, the saga that started with simple street races has grown into one of the biggest action franchises in cinema history. Interestingly, the word forever can also be interpreted as eternity, which means the jokes that Fast and Furious will never truly end might not be jokes after all. Because while this movie will conclude the story of Dominic Toretto, it doesn't necessarily mean the entire Fast and Furious universe will disappear. In fact, the opposite might happen. According to insiders, Universal plans to continue expanding the franchise with spin-offs and series once Dom's story finally reaches its conclusion. And the list of possible projects is already surprisingly long. There's talk about a female-led Fast and Furious spin-off, a possible continuation of Fast and Furious Presents, Hobbs and Shaw, a solo project connected to Dwayne Johnson, several TV series, and even smaller stories set in the same universe. But before we look into the future of the franchise, there's one topic that has sparked the biggest debate among fans: the return of Brian O'Connor. Brian, originally played by Paul Walker, became one of the most beloved characters in the series. After Walker's tragic passing in 2013, the filmmakers created one of the most emotional endings in blockbuster history in Furious 7, where Brian drove off into the sunset. Since then, the character has remained part of the story, but only indirectly. Other characters occasionally mention him, and the films imply that he is still somewhere out there, living a quiet life with his family. However, with the saga approaching its final chapter, the studio reportedly wants Brian to appear one last time. Just like in Furious 7, the filmmakers may once again use Paul Walker's brothers together with advanced CGI technology to recreate the character. The role will most likely be limited to avoid overusing digital effects, but it could still be a powerful moment for longtime fans. Story-wise, it actually makes sense. If this is truly the last race for Dom and his crew, bringing Brian back, even briefly, would feel like closing a circle that began more than 20 years ago. But of course, not everyone agrees with this decision. Some fans believe that recreating actors digitally raises ethical questions. So the real question is, will audiences accept it? Another rumor that surprised fans recently involves one of the most famous athletes on the planet: Cristiano Ronaldo. Apparently, a role for Ronaldo was written many years ago, back in 2009, for a spin-off project called Bandits. That movie never happened, and the idea was forgotten. But recently, Vin Diesel posted a photo with Ronaldo and quietly edited the caption, mentioning that a special role had been written for him. Fans quickly noticed. Now many believe the football superstar could appear in the final movie as a small cameo, possibly as a street racer or maybe even the organizer of a high-stakes race. It would fit perfectly with another rumor surrounding the movie, that the final chapter will return to the streets of Los Angeles, bringing the franchise back to where it all started. Of course, nothing has been officially confirmed. And considering how huge the cast already is, adding another global superstar might only increase the already massive budget. Speaking of the cast, coordinating this movie might be one of the biggest production challenges the franchise has ever faced. Over the years, the Fast and Furious saga has gathered an enormous list of stars, including Jason Momoa, Brie Larson, Alan Ritchson, Gal Gadot, and many others. Each of them needs screen time. Each of them has a busy schedule, and each of them comes with a very large paycheck. That's one of the reasons the movie's budget has reportedly become a serious issue. According to insiders, an early version of the script had a projected budget of around $250 million. The studio wasn't happy with that number, which means the story might have been rewritten or scaled back. Even Jason Momoa, who played the villain Dante, recently joked that he hadn't even seen the script yet and wasn't sure if it actually existed at the time. And considering the movie is expected in 2028, the clock is already ticking. Between filming massive action scenes, performing dangerous stunts, and completing post-production, the team doesn't have as much time as it might seem. Still, Vin Diesel promises that the final movie will bring the franchise back to its roots. That means more street racing and an atmosphere closer to the original The Fast and the Furious. But let's be honest. After saving the world multiple times, launching cars into space and pulling off impossible missions, it's hard to imagine the story suddenly becoming small again. Most likely, street racing will serve as a symbolic finale. A final showdown between Dom and Dante, proving who the ultimate driver really is. Meanwhile, the future of the franchise might extend far beyond this final movie. Universal is reportedly exploring several TV series for the streaming platform Peacock. Among the ideas being discussed are stories focused on Han Lu, Roman Pierce, and even a young version of Dominic Toretto. The Han project is said to be the furthest in development and could work as a prequel to the main series. A show about young Dom could also explore his early life before the events of the first movie. However, these projects are still in the early idea stage and will likely move forward only after the main saga concludes. There's also the possibility of a female-led spin-off movie, which Vin Diesel says is one of the studio's priorities after the final chapter. Whether audiences will embrace it remains to be seen. In today's industry, strong marketing alone isn't enough. Fans want a compelling story first. One thing, however, is absolutely certain. The final Fast and Furious movie is officially happening. The last ride of Dominic Toretto and his family is coming. And after more than 20 years of action, explosions, and unforgettable moments, it might truly be the end of an era. The only question now is how the saga will cross the finish line. Will the franchise return to the simple street racing vibe that started it all? Will Brian's return be the emotional goodbye fans hope for? And could we really see Cristiano Ronaldo appear in the Fast universe? Let me know what you think, because one thing is clear. The final race is coming. Don't forget to like and subscribe, so I will post more interesting facts.